This is one of my favorite games of all time. Mostly because it was my first PSP game I owned. It's Star Wars, and it's Battlefront. I also loved the PSP. I got the Star Wars Battlefront bundle after eyeing the original PSP since release. I remember sometimes playing my friends' PSPs, but no one really had one until they later released the 2000 and 3000 models. My PSP was also stolen, but that's another story. Let's dive into Battlefront Renegade Squadron. This is my original save file. It looks like I played the game most recently in 2022. We'll start with a new profile for today. We have 2 difficulties to select from. We'll stick with normal, but I'm thinking I might stream an elite playthrough.
Welcome to Star Wars Battlefront Renegade Squadron.
So just like all classic Battlefront games, your objective is to capture command posts or diminish the enemy reinforcements to 0 in order to win. And there are vehicles to use and heroes you can play.
Star Wars hero or villain. In Star Wars Battlefront Renegade Squadron, you have complete control over the way your soldier looks.
In this Battlefront, you have a lot of customization. Each faction has 3 different body types, and each body type has 3 different heads to choose from. Well, that's pretty cool. You also get to pick your primary and secondary colors, as well as an insignia.
Your AI teammates will always wear your colors. Any tanks or spacecraft you enter will also use your colors.
Then we have our loadout, which works on a point system. You can only spend so many points on your loadout. This includes weapons, items, and perks. Space combat is very similar to classic Battlefront games. You need to defeat the critical systems to destroy the enemy ship, or you can land and sabotage the internal critical systems. They also have autopilot and an auto dock to make things easier. Aside from the story and multiplayer, we have instant action, where we have several different modes to choose from. We have space battles, as well as conquest, capture the flag, and hero capture the flag. And I know everybody's dying to know what heroes are in this game, so let's go through them, so it's a pretty good list. We got Han Solo, Admiral Akbar, Boba Fett, Darth Vader, Luke, Ben Kenobi, the Emperor, Mace Windu, Count Dooku, Yoda, Jango Fett, Chewbacca, Ki-Adi-Mundi, General Grievous, IG-88, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Asajj Ventress, and Kit Fisto. That's a pretty good lineup of heroes. Definitely a bunch we could add, but I think that's pretty dope. There's one more game mode we'll quickly take a look at.
Galactic Conquest is a turn-based strategy game in which your goal is to take over the galaxy.
Similar to Galactic Conquest in previous Battlefronts, there are upgrades and reinforcements you can buy, but the main difference here is that you win by defeating the enemy's home planet.
Conquering a home planet is tougher than normal, because you must fight and win 2 consecutive battles. First in space, then on the ground. Should you succeed, the galaxy is yours.
You can also move troops from any planet, not just one. And they have bonuses for owning all the planets in a sector. Now speaking of planets, we do get a bunch of new maps introduced, so let's check that out. On Ord Mantle, we get the Junkyard. On Selous-Sami, we get Caldera City.
Admiral Akbar is in command of our forces.
On Sullust, we get the Imperial Cavern Base. On Boz Pity, we get the Graveyard Valley. And on Korriban, we get the Valley of the Sith Lords. That's pretty dope. And we get 2 new space maps. Space Alderaan and Space Kessel. Solace is the only planet that reappears again in the 2015 Battlefront and Battlefront 2 in 2017, which makes the other 4 planets and 2 space battles exclusive to this Battlefront. Next, we have 2 controller schemes to choose from. I prefer the second scheme, which many will argue isn't necessary, and its downside is you lose some controls, like roll for infantry or dodge in the Starfighter. There's a bonus video here, we'll look at that at the end, and then we also have some medals. Games used to have these a lot more often before we got trophies and achievements. I used to create my own trophies for some of my PSP games, and in this case I would just use this medal system here. Finally, moving on to the main story. So there are 11 story missions that are actually quite simple and short. As a kid, I remembered these differently. I thought they were long, full missions. But they're still a lot of fun. We start the classic text scroll, explaining that many years have passed since the Battle of Endor. And we get these interesting cutscenes, which I remember loving as a kid, but you can be the judge. The Jedi archives have been restored, but the archivist, Tion, if I say that correctly, found some info about a renegade squadron. Oh, they did the thing where they say the name and the... anyways. Tion has no info about Renegade Squadron, besides the commander, so she starts there. After talking to the commander over holoskype, the commander agrees a lot of time has passed, and maybe it's time people heard about Renegade Squadron. Oh, they said the name again! We start with the story of Renegade Squadron in flashbacks of old battles and how Renegade was secretly working in the background. He mentions how most recruits were farm boys, dreamers, like Skywalker, but Han wanted more warriors than dreamers. So the commander recruited them himself. He said it wasn't hard to find people that hated the Empire. A lot of them were wanted men on the run from bounty hunters, and there were no records of them because they were so good at keeping a low profile. And he trained these men on Yavin 4, which is where our tutorial begins. So the Yavin base is under attack, there's an evacuation order, and we need to keep them busy while the evacuation is done. You'll notice here it's giving me a tutorial on my button loadout. Teaches us how to walk and turn, how to shoot, capture command post, change equipment. We can repair and use turrets, blow up vehicles. While doing all this, a scout got our logs, so we need to kill him, then destroy any other sensitive data, and we win. So we escaped Yavin 4, but we need a new base, and Han told us about Alderaan. On Alderaan, before it was destroyed, Bail Organa made a list of all possible locations for a new base, and he encrypted it into a hologram, encased in Frick, one of the galaxy's strongest substances, strong enough to survive the destruction of Alderaan. So we get our first space battle in Alderaan's debris with a tutorial. We need to find the holocron by first defending the Millennium Falcon as it scans for the holocron. We get it, Boba Fett shows up, we destroy the gravity wells that are blocking our light speed, and we're off. So the commander sends the hologram info to Admiral Akbar. We get to Ord Mantell, a giant junkyard with Hun for repairs after our space battle. It's a good place to lie low until a bounty hunter shows up. This is where the commander says a controversial line. Solo might not shoot first when... Well, I'll let you guys argue in the comments who shot first. So the Empire shows up, and we gotta get back to the shipyard, do our repairs quick, and leave before a Star Destroyer squadron appears. First objective is to secure the junkyard. Chewie shows up, and we must defend him while he finds parts. We gotta destroy the anti-aircraft battery, of course, but it's shielded.
It's shielded. You'll need to destroy the shield generator first.
Then we need to find an energy cell for the Falcon. Here's where Han has been this whole time. IG-88 appears, and we must defeat him to finish the mission. I remember this being a tough battle as a kid, but now I know the weapons a little too well, and I just demolish them. We barely make it out, and we find out Akbar has been captured. He's being held on a Star Destroyer on its way to Kessel. Now we're in space above Kessel. We gotta make the battlefield safe for the transport. Get the transport over, and my friendly AI ship collided with me, instantly killing me, which requires me to restart the entire mission.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't.
Anyways, once we finally land, we must rescue Akbar. We shoot the generators to block us from leaving, and we fly Akbar back to our ship. After saving Akbar, we find out his droids and crew were kept by Boba Fett to be sold for extra profit. So we find ourselves at the Hutt slaver markets on Tatooine to find his crew and droids. We need to go to the cantina to find someone that's willing to talk. But first, we need to clear the area of the Empire. After clearing the Empire, we find a Rodian that's willing to talk. The prisoners are being held in the shipyard, and we need to protect him, which went horribly wrong. Why did you just run into everybody? Was I supposed to be that quick? This time I tried to play it a little more safe. And he made it. Although he thought he was being sneaky. There are classic field generators blocking our entry. Once we capture the command post inside, Han will arrive to free the prisoners.
Moving the prisoners out now. Cover me.
Han doesn't do much shooting in the story. Anyways, we need to defend him, and after the crew is free, the Empire sent ST Walkers. Finally, once we destroy those, we can evac with the Millennium Falcon.
Everyone aboard? Now hold on. We're getting out.
The rescue was a miracle, but it was also a trap. The R2 unit had a tracker beacon, which led Boba Fett right to our new Alliance base on Boz Pity, the cemetery world filled with ruins and giant remains of old extinct beings, which finds us on Boz Pity. We were first tasked with capturing and holding the Gatehouse command post. An AT-AT walker is actually sent, which is the first time we're running into one in this game.
Then detonate it.
And our plan is to plant a det pack by an explosive canister. I thought it would have been so much cooler if we just planted it on the hillside and had, like, you know, the hill and debris kind of come down. But maybe that was too much for the PSP. Instead, we just get a mediocre explosion. Then we have to deal with the two remaining ST walkers. We find Akbar, who's wounded. We need to locate the back tank to give to him. After we heal Akbar, we need to evacuate. Deja vu. We need to defend the evac, which is called in at the sacrificial chamber. And here we're given the option to use a vehicle. I actually find this vehicle a little buggy and uneasy to use. especially when enemies are close. Anyways, we hold, the ship arrives, we evac. Story of Rebel life. Which leads us to Hoth next. Yeah! We get another scene of the archivist Tion, I hope I'm saying that right, asking the commander about Hoth, and the commander explains Skywalker found it. It was the perfect place to strike back the Empire. See what he did there? If the Empire hadn't heard of Renegade Squadron, they did now. We hit hard and we vanish. And if it wasn't for Renegade, no one would have made it off of Hoth alive. So we're on Hoth right before the battle for Hoth is finishing. We can't leave until the ion cannon team is done protecting the evac ships. We capture and hold the hangar command post. We destroy the data banks. And we set timers to bury the base. But there's an AT-AT harassing the evac transport. So we need to grab the crashed LAAT's power source and use it in the particle cannon. We power this scrawny little cannon that usually does nothing to these AT-ATs. But somehow, I guess, with the power source, we can now shoot the AT-AT. We get a little animation of the walker falling down. And then, dun dun dun, Vader arrives. And we need to hold him off? How? What does that mean? I remember this fight being way more difficult and scary as a kid. But I got him. GG Vader. Now it's finally time to get the ion cannon team out of here, and level complete. The next level takes place right after, in the space above Hoth. We need to help the transports escape. We start by destroying the frigate turrets and escorting transports past. And then we are introduced to a new TIE Fighter class. We engage with a few of them before we decide to steal one. And as we prep for light speed, Vader shows up again, and we must now space battle him.
They need more time to prep for the jump to light speed. Vader's out there, and his TIE
And we escape. Vader too, somehow. We have another scene with the Archivist. This time, the commander is explaining how Solo was captured by Jabba before he escaped with a plan. They explain the whole plan for the Battle of Endor and how he wants more info on the troops on Endor. There was only one place to get that kind of information: Palpatine himself. Dun dun dun! And apparently he was gonna be doing a pilgrimage to Korriban, the Sith Tomb World. And even though this was the craziest mission ever, everyone volunteered in Renegade Squadron without hesitation. So we need the info from Palpatine, but our first objective is to capture the Sith Academy command post. We're hoping they haven't alerted Palpatine yet, but he probably sensed our presence. Hopefully he just thinks we're small fry. Anyways, we defend the command post, and we're notified that Palpatine has landed. And we need to capture the Sith Tomb Atrium so we can get a surprise ready for Palpatine. So the surprise is we're gonna trap the Emperor in the tomb. What the fuck? We lay explosives at the 3 entrances, then we taunt Palpatine by destroying his Sith artifacts. And Palpatine finally arrives, not happy, duh.
Get out of there now! I'm getting ready to detonate the explosives.
And all we gotta do now is book it out of here. The explosives go off, leaving behind a rock pile. I have no idea how Palpatine will get through that.
What?
So we steal the data pad Palpatine left on his ship for some reason. We see some cool landscapes I've never seen before. And we escape. The data revealing the Emperor will be on the Death Star when we attack. So all the plans are in motion for the attack on Endor and the final attack on the Death Star. Meanwhile, the Renegade Squadron will attack the Imperials on Sullust as a distraction. We are tasked here with capturing and holding the garrison outpost until IG-88 arrives. This time, he has a special invisible shield by using the lightning conductor.
Could be drawing power from that lightning conductor.
So we can't damage him until we blow up the lighting generator with a jetpack. Boom and boom. After defeating IG-88 again, we have to destroy the gravity projectors, which are preventing our escape. First, we're going to need the power core shutdown codes that will disable the shields on the gravity projectors. An Imperial officer has them. Pew pew. We use the codes, blow up the gravity projectors, and we win. Which brings us to our final mission, the Battle of Endor. The Renegade Squadron landed soon after Han, and they need to help him destroy the shield generator. Meanwhile in space, Akbar is battling the Imperial fleet. Everything will depend on Renegade Squadron getting to Han Solo on time.
Renegade Squadron getting to General Solo in time.
The treetop Ewok village is key to this battle, so we start off capturing that. We actually have land speeders here, but they're kind of useless. We capture the treetop village, repair a turret, and defend the command post from some AT-ST walkers. And then we need to sabotage a downed AT-AT the Imperials want to repair. And then it's time to rendezvous with Han Solo. We start by capturing the shield generator bunker command post. Chewie shows up in the AT-ST he captured.
Using that to our advantage.
And we can use the AT-ST to defend the bunker. We finally destroy the shield bunker, meaning the space fleet should be starting their assault on the Death Star. But we need to clear what's left of the Imperials down here. So the last command post of the entire game was actually kind of hard to capture. It was finally a challenge. We can also see the Ewoks dancing on the AT-AT. You guys earned it. Anyways, after a somewhat tedious last command post capture, we are met with the final cutscene.
I guess everyone knows what happened next.
Afterwards, Renegade Squadron disbanded themselves.
Disbanded after that?
The New Republic needed real heroes, like Luke, Han, and Calrissian. The commander now does more secretive work. How's it more secretive? We're reminded that Renegade Squadron wasn't the most notable bunch, but should be recognized for their sacrifices, and we wouldn't trade them for anything. Wishing the Force be with them, wherever they may be now.
Wherever they are now, whatever they're doing, may the Force be with them.
And this is the first time I'm noticing these special thanks. Thank you, Elise, for the candy. And as always, thanks, George Lucas. That leads us to the end of the video. I have a couple last notes to share. There are 2 Easter eggs. The Wookiee Bounty Hunter head is a replica of Wookiee Bounty Hunter Snuva. And on Ord Mantell, you can see lots of familiar vehicles in the junkyard, such as an AT-ST head, a damaged Hailfire droid, an ARC-170 starfighter, and a homing spider droid. There are also a lot of reported glitches. Some of these include going out of bounds, incorrect voice lines being used, incorrect assets, like the wrong gun, and a major glitch being able to overspend credits on your loadout. That's OP. We have the bonus video, which turns out to be a preview of The Force Unleashed.
Star Wars The Force Unleashed is an all-new, original, epic story that was created in collaboration with George Lucas that features Darth Vader's secret apprentice as the main character.
Alongside the console version of The Force Unleashed, they actually created a PSP version and a DS version. And finally, I wanted to mention that they have another exclusive Battlefront for the PSP called Elite Squadron. They released several years after Renegade Squadron. That one brings a lot of new features, a lot of cool things that I would love to talk about. So hopefully I'll make a video about that one very soon. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. I have a bunch more content on my channel. Check it out. Subscribe if you like the vibes. And I'll see you in the next one. Later.